Hello folks, it's Clinton Moss here with Gunnar Energy Services, and today I want to talk about carbon capture and specifically how magnetic ranging relates to that process. But before we do that, we need to understand where CO2 comes from in the first place. As you all know, one of the sources of CO2 in the atmosphere is the burning of hydrocarbons. So let's take a look at how hydrocarbons are produced so we can better understand how we capture that CO2 and safely store it. So let's go to the rig, folks, and check it out. All right, folks, so here we are at the rig. I'm offshore and we're getting ready to drill. On my right, we're going to display the well profile so you get a better understanding of what we're going to do here. We're going to drill down and penetrate a cap rock, okay? We're going to drill into the formation of interest. We call it the pay zone, okay? So that cap rock seals the hydrocarbon in place. And once we penetrate the cap rock with the drill string, think of it like this. It's like if you had an inflated balloon and we stuck a drinking straw into it, and you can imagine all the air would leak out through that drinking straw, okay? That's what the oil well basically does. It punches into this zone, okay, this high pressure zone that contains hydrocarbons and allows us to then produce them back to surface. Okay, folks, so once the hydrocarbon is on surface, what can we do with it? Well, we can refine it and use it to run an internal combustion engine like our cars. We can make plastics out of it. But in fact, one of the biggest uses is in industrial processes, like a power plant. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a power plant here way off in the distance in the background. Let's go back on shore and see how the hydrocarbon is used in this industrial process. So here we are at the power plant. At this point, hydrocarbons have been produced out of the well from offshore, been transported to land via a pipeline, refined, and then made available to the power plant that you see behind me, okay? So this power plant is burning natural gas to produce electricity. Now, you can see that one of the byproducts of that is the emissions from this exhaust stack that you see right here behind me, okay? So in that flue gas, you have steam, of course, but there's also a heavy concentration of CO2. So the concept of carbon capture is this. Through a chemical process, the CO2 can be stripped from that exhaust gas before it is emitted into the atmosphere. It can be compressed, and then it's suitable for storage. But we need an appropriate vessel in which to store it. So, wouldn't it be clever if we could use that same formation from where the hydrocarbon was initially produced and simply inject that CO2 back into that formation so that it is not free in the atmosphere? So, folks, let's go downhole and see how we accomplish that. So here we are downhole in the pay zone, okay? This is the zone of interest where we originally produced those hydrocarbons. So let me show you now how carbon capture and ranging go together. Each one of these wells, as I mentioned before, penetrates the cap rock, okay? So if we want to re-inject CO2 under high pressure into the formation, we have to make sure that each well is properly sealed so that the CO2 cannot simply escape right back up to surface through some leak path or some flow path, okay? So, before we inject CO2 back into a formation of interest, we have to ensure cap rock integrity. That's another way of saying to make sure the balloon is sealed and that the CO2 will stay in place. So as it turns out, folks, that under high pressure of injection, some of the wells that were originally drilled could succumb to that high pressure. They could start to leak. So what Gunnar does is we help our customers identify problematic wells that don't have the proper plugs. And then we drill down to those wells, as you see here illustrated behind me now, use our magnetic ranging technology to home in on the target, and then we mill and re-enter that target so that we can fill it up full of cement. So folks, as you see here illustrated now, once we cement each one of these problematic wells, could be one or more, that effectively restores the integrity of the cap rock. It makes the balloon whole again, okay? There's no more leak paths. So folks, there you have it. That's how Gunnar Energy Services enables carbon capture through magnetic ranging technology. If you have any questions about this, folks, feel free to reach out to me. Gunnar Energy Services stands ready to assist with all your carbon capture needs.